Hello there. Happy to join you live today. I'm going to go catch my colleague here. Jamie was going to join me because this is a positive spin course last weekend that I wanted to share. And Jamie, do we have you?
Yes, you do.
Yes, in the car we have you. You know what? We can do saccades on a stick anywhere,
You
right?
can.
So
In a car, on a boat, wherever you want to go.
wherever you want to go. So I was, first of all, Jamie, I haven't gotten to talk to you a ton, but as usual, you and Catherine in this positive spin course, like last year I felt this way. This year I even feel more just like so excited about the content. So like just like literally my daughter and I have been making candles and soap and using popsicle sticks, and I just like had to write words on them because I was so excited. And this idea of saccades on the stick, first of all, we had an 80s theme positive spin, and I couldn't help but think of hot dog on a stick, which like was totally like they would pump the lemonade, and I loved that as a kid and I always wanted to work there. So when you came up with saccades on a stick, it was brilliant, so brilliant, and I also think it was such a good way. It really solidified the idea of this optic flow and your theory of optic flow. So I want to ask you, I'm going to ask you how this came about, and then of course we have to show people what this means, because I wanted to give people and share a little nugget with them. So
Yeah.
how this came about, and then we'll show them saccades on the stick.
Sure, sure. First of all, thank you for having me. And I'm excited that you could take home so many fun things from the positive spin too, which was such a good, it just brought together a lot of the things that Catherine and I have been saying for years, and then diving into the research to say, okay, we see it, but why?
Yeah.
And so, as you know, in positive one, we started coming up with, well, I like asking the patient, is it hard to move your eyes, or do you just feel dizzy? And really a lot of that dizziness came from that background motion and that optic flow in the background. And so how this came about was me collaborating with a neurooptometrist in town, Dr. Amy Chang, who's really wonderful. And I really actually wanted something that had some external focus of attention, so that this patient could track and not quite get these abnormal smooth pursuits. But what I found was that it began to inhibit the optic flow. And so I kept trying it on other patients, and I'm like, oh, this really works. And if you ask them, they'll say, yeah, the background doesn't stand out as much and I don't get as dizzy with it. And so it was a nice tool to come across to say, okay, well, here's a place to start with your exercises. Or a visual motion hypersensitive patient who needs to really work on smooth pursuits. The bigger problem is that the background flow and the speed of eye motion is what was really triggering their symptoms. And so I was like, well, why is this working? and come to find out, saccades actually suppress. They're kind of an adaptation, or they really suppress that optic flow. So the question is it suppressing the optic flow? Is it changing the attention towards kind of reading something? And we'll go over what you have to do with it, reading something forward and backwards. And so the attention is really on the stick and not the background motion. Is it really that it's just another way? If patients are having saccadic intrusions, is that even in itself a behavioral strategy to limit optic flow? These are all the questions I have, as to maybe these aren't quite the central mechanism. They're central, but they're not the central mechanisms that we're talking about, right? And so I started finding out that this works. And so I have a dum-dum left in my car because I have 2 kids, and you have your popsicle stick,
I have my
and I'm a
popsicle
low
stick.
budget therapist with popsicle sticks because that's just what it works. And what you could do, Julie, I don't know what you put on your stick.
Well, so I put like a happy face, so just like a static image, because that's
Yes,
typically what I would have for testing. And
right.
then I, of course, put reactive
That's what I
on
was
the other
suggest.
side. Yeah, but I really love what I love too is that like you bring in these concepts of visual motion hypersensitivity and training this, but also the ideas of optimal, because I loved your suggestion, like make this salient and interesting.
Yes, that was
I'm
going to be.
obsessed with reactive. So of course that's the first word I put on there. But like
Yeah.
maybe I might put my dog name. Maybe I get a choice of what I'm going to write on there. I love that you shared that in the course too, because it's like combining these
Yeah.
concepts to make a even better intervention.
Exactly.
You're so good at this, Jaimy. Oh
Oh,
my gosh.
thanks.
Okay.
So
So
that's exactly it. Is it that you're making it more salient by having them look at, read something back and forth? And so the attention is set on spelling reactive backwards, up and down. And is that why that mechanism works? But I'll tell you, it works. And it's worked on several patients, and I can't wait to hear from other positive spin students, I guess I don't know what you call it, people who participated in the course, how that works for them, because there's something to it, and I think those are the mechanisms that are really driving it. And I think this is another way to start helping our patients with visual motion sensitivity in that graded exposure, like getting them back to moving their eyes and moving their head and getting that optic flow, but give them something salient, break it up a little bit, and really inhibit that optic flow. For years, I was wondering why can't these patients filter out the background? I'm not quite sure why. I don't notice it, but they do. And that's a deep dive that you can get to in the course, because it's a
yes,
little deeper than what I could do at Instagram. But I think this explains a little bit why too. And so if you want to know more, come see the
gotta go
course
to the
that's
course.
recorded. Yeah. But
Yes.
let's try it real quick. So I have
Okay.
my dum-dum.
I got
And you have a stick. And so what I would do for you, Julie, I'm just going to have you demonstrate it. So you have your smiley face, and you would track and do a smooth pursuit with the smiley face from side to side. Mm-hmm. And usually what I would ask the patient is, do you feel dizzy? What do you notice? And what would they say, Julie?
Yeah, so for the people I see a lot of people who have visual motion hypersensitivity. They might even stop and be like I'm feeling sick, I'm feeling dizzy, I feel off balance. They might even start swaying.
Yeah.
They feel, nauseous. Maybe they feel like they're moving or floating or rocking or bobbing with this, but it's very uncomfortable.
Right. And so then I would tell you, okay, let's try it now with the reactive side facing you. And I want you to read reactive down and then back up. And I even want you to say the letters out loud while you're doing a smooth pursuit.
Okay. Ooh, now we have to see if I can read. REACTIVE. Now EVI. I'm moving my whole body. TCAER. That is a totally different experience. Now I will already say, because I write reactive all the time, I should have picked a word I didn't think about, don't think about all the time, because I could have cheated and not actually read it and just said it. You know what I'm saying? But I was a good student. I was like, I am actually reading the letters, but it's a totally different experience. Now, I wasn't dizzy initially with the happy face. I don't have visual motion sensitivity, but this was very different, having to read and do those mini saccades through the letters as I'm doing the smooth pursuit.
And you could try a shorter word, you could try numbers, I mean, you could do all sorts of things, but it's it it's an it seems to get them moving their eyes quicker. It inhibits that optic flow, and I have noticed they come back, and the regular smooth pursuits isn't quite as symptomatic. So I think it just gets the eyes moving. It starts to learn how to inhibit some of that optic flow in the background, and get them beyond visual motion hypersensitivity a little sooner.
Yeah. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a great test even because I know, I teach this. I know you teach a lot
Mm-hmm.
too. Like we teach a basic neuro screen, which
Yeah.
includes smooth pursuits. And we talk about, well, like if there's muscle weakness, what does it look like? If it's saccadic, what does that mean? How to interpret it from a neuroanatomy. But what we don't teach, because this is kind of the next level, but you teach this, and this is why we kind of go above and beyond with courses by you and Catherine, because it's important to go beyond that basic level. But what about the person that their eyes move okay,
But
but
they're
they cannot
symptomatic.
tolerate, they're sensitive to it, right? And
Right.
so I think this is kind of a nice test. Well, they're sensitive to that. What happens if you add those little saccades in? And that's
Yeah.
what I think is so cool. This is why I think people should totally get the course, because I think understanding optic flow and understanding how smooth pursuits actually is like tremendous optic flow versus a saccade not, that was like this little test and treatment. By the way, I love a test that can become a treatment too. It's just
Right.
brilliant. This little piece kind of like really helped me fully understand, oh wow, like you're using saccades here to diminish that optic flow. And that, like what you talked about in positive spin one, which by the way, I feel like people should just get it all together. Like if you want to take things the next level beyond the basic vestibular, I think the series is really good. But that that idea of assessing kind of beyond and being able to progress into treatment beyond, you started that started with that. Is it, I always forget whose name is first. You've named the theory of optic flow.
It's the Wahab Dynus theory of optic flow on oculomotor control.
Yes, the Wahab Dynus theory of optic flow. So I think you want the course to take a look and really dive deep to understand that. But I think you showed great examples of this. We see this post concussion. We see this in 3PD, and many forms of dizziness. We'll see this visual motion sensitivity. It actually makes sense that it occurs after
Right.
certain disorders. And what I love in positive spin 2 is like these concepts or theories or principles. I'm a principle kind of girl. These principles relate to everything: vestibular migraine, malday debarkment, to Meniere's disease, which is really what you touch on so nicely in positive spin 2. It's like the same type of idea would apply across the board.
Absolutely. And I especially in 2 versus 1, there's so much theory on just upright verticality and upright perception, or a perception of motion, right? Which starts to dive into looking at even movement disorders and why are they off balance. And
Yes.
we even had a couple of examples in the class where verticality is skewed. And so it's being able to look at it even beyond the vestibular patient, really, and that's our hope, that people really get out of it, and really understanding the mechanisms and the whys. And I love that, again, thinking of it as a test just as much as a treatment. But if you think of, hey, if I just made the test a bit more complicated, I had them do saccades and read, and they felt better, that I think that's telling too, right? That it's not There's a mechanism behind why they are having that optic flow or why they're gaining it. And so if we can teach them and untrain that a little bit, that will help. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's always been my favorite thing about vestibular rehab is the test is the treatment, and you can always.
I know. Well,
it's just a matter of how you grade it, right?
Now we have the Wahab Saccades on the stick. You heard it here. And I think Taylor said in here too, just tried it and what a difference. Yes. So it really does. So that's really why I wanted to share this little nugget on our Instagram. I'll put it in our newsletter as well, the video here. But try this on yourself, try it with other people. This is certainly something that we're bringing to all of our evaluations as well. So we're so thankful for you, Jaimy, and for Catherine, and for this course as a whole. It really has brought so much to the picture of what we do and how we test and treat some of the most complex conditions. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and
if
you're joining us and maybe just meeting Jaimy for the first time, Jaimy and Catherine just did a course for us over the weekend on Saturday, Positive Spin. This was the second installment, diving deep into what Jaimy said. How do we organize our vertical and our center and our response to gravity, and a lot more in depth on these ideas of optic flow and how to test and treat this. And you can get the course recorded. You can get Positive Spin 1 as well. And I really think it can transform your practice. Somebody said at the end of the course, they put it in the chat. This was one of my favorites. I don't know if I'll get the exact wording, but they said, wow, this blew my mind. I think it blew everybody's mind within the first 10 minutes of the course. It blew people's mind, myself included. But then they said, this was at the end, this blew my mind. And it was something like most every other course, vestibular course feels like a good review, and this was above and beyond. And I know that's exactly why you wanted to do it. Like, you've been a therapist for a long time, you've been treating people for a long time, you're a mom, you run your business, you have been to those courses and wanting more, and those courses are great, really. Like, for vestibular, like, you need the basics and a good review. Like, I feel like I need that all the time, but that going that next level, that's what this course is, and it's really awesome. So so thank you, Jaimy. Thanks for helping me share your
glad
nugget.
to.
And now we all have popsicle sticks everywhere around the clinic. I mean, we did already, but now they have things written on them.
We're just so grateful to collaborate with you, Julie. It's really been a great couple years of being able to put some of this together with you guys and being a part of Re+active and Brain Bites, which has really changed my practice as well. The feeling is huge. It's mutual. I love growing just as much as you do. So all this sharing of knowledge is wonderful. It's been the silver lining, right, of the pandemic.
It has been a major silver lining, and you're so right. And that does remind me, if we have other healthcare professionals on here, Jaimy and I met through our Brain Bites community, and that was like in the heat of the pandemic, right, when like everything was closed. Here we were meeting online, like learning and growing together with some of the toughest neuro complex case things. And we are opening our doors next month. Our wait list is open. We have a really cool deal if you join our wait list. So check that out, reactiveeducation.com/brainbites. We would really love for more folks like us, like crazy neuro nerds that sit in our car with dum-dums and popsicle sticks to do this kind of thing. So So once again, thank you to Jaimy. Thanks for our community for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks so much.